Hi, I'm Amy and this is House of Nash Eats, and today we are learning how to make gingerbread cookies. So the first thing to do when you're making gingerbread cookies is we're going to cream butter and sugar together in our stand mixer. And I really like using a stand mixer because this makes a lot of dough and it's just too thick for using a hand mixer very easily. So we're going to add 1 cup of salted butter, and it should be softened to room temperature, and 1 cup of light brown sugar. And we'll mix these together until they're creamy and light. Okay, once those are creamy, we're going to add a cup of molasses and 1 egg. So my trick for molasses is if you actually spray your measuring cup with some cooking spray, it helps it come out a little bit easier. I'm gonna spray it first. And then this is my favorite molasses. It's just an original unsulfured molasses. Don't use blackstrap molasses. Okay, so there's the molasses and 1 egg. And we're going to mix that together. Be sure to pause and scrape down the sides and bottom of your bowl. That helps everything mix together. You'll see that there's butter that's clinging to the side that's not getting mixed in. And scraping down the sides of the bowl just makes your dough mix together a lot more evenly. Okay, now we're going to add 5 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna add it all at once, and then we are going to add ginger and cinnamon and cloves, nutmeg, and allspice, along with baking soda and salt. And I'm going to leave a link to the recipe with all the ingredients and the measurements below. So now we're going to mix this all together. Go slow so it doesn't all fly out at you. Be sure to scrape the bottom of the bowl again. Some of that molasses mixture likes to get stuck there. If you're having a hard time getting this dough to come together, just keep mixing it. Make sure when you're measuring your flour you don't over measure. It's a really thick, really stiff dough that's great for rolling out. And when it comes together, it should be about the consistency of Play-Doh. Okay, you can see I've got a really nice thick dough that's a great consistency. It'll roll out really well. So now we're going to wrap this up in plastic wrap and chill it for about 3 hours so it's nice and firm and good to work with when we're cutting out our gingerbread men shape. So you might want to divide this into 2 sections so it's easier to work with and roll out later, or just one big one. Just wrap it up. Flatten it into a disc, and then pop it in the fridge. Okay, so we've got our gingerbread dough and it's been chilling in the fridge for about 3 hours, and I pulled it out and let it rest on the counter for 10-15 minutes just to soften a little bit so it's really workable. So you could do this just on a floured surface. I find it's easiest to do gingerbread on parchment paper because the dough tends to get a little sticky on your surface. This just helps it peel off a little bit better. And add a little flour to your surface that you're working on. And then definitely flour the top of the gingerbread. And this flour is going to be absorbed, so don't worry that it's going to change the look of your gingerbread and make it look all floury and white on top. And I like to roll these out about 1/4 of an inch thick. You could do 3/8 of an inch. I have this really great rolling pin that has guides that make sure I get them the same thickness every time I roll them out. I love it. I'll link to it below. So you're going to roll out the gingerbread, and it's a pretty sturdy dough, but it shouldn't crumble on you. The texture is really, really great, and just use some pressure and even strokes to roll it out nice and thin and flat. Okay, so we've got this all rolled out. If you're working right on your surface, be sure to lift up the dough and check and see if it needs flour underneath periodically so it's not sticking. But now we're going to get our cookie cutter shape. I'm using a traditional gingerbread man, but snowflakes are really fun. You can really do any shape you like on these. We're just going to cut out our gingerbread men and then transfer them to a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper. Okay, and then you put them on your baking sheet lined with parchment paper, and we're going to bake these at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. And then you can re-roll the scraps of dough that are left over. Just smash them back together and roll them out again until you've cut out all of your gingerbread man cookies. This is my kids' favorite job. They love cutting them out. Okay, so we've got our gingerbread men cookies out of the oven, and we are going to transfer them after they've cooled for a minute or two to a wire cooling rack. And while they're doing that, we'll make some royal icing so we can decorate. Okay, now we're going to make our easy royal icing to decorate our sugar cookies with. This is kind of my simple cheater version of royal icing. Real royal icing is usually made with egg whites or meringue powder. This is just a simplified version. I'll leave a link to my other royal icing recipe below if you'd rather work with that. It just hardens a little firmer and is a little more professional to work with. But to make this, we start out with 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and we're going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract and a pinch of salt and 1 teaspoon of light corn syrup and 2 to 3 tablespoons of room temperature water. I'm just gonna add a little bit for now and whisk it until we get our consistency where we can pipe it without it running right off of our cookies. And then just whisk it together. Okay, it's nice and runny. It melts in on itself. If you take it too far and it's too runny, add another tablespoon or 2 of powdered sugar at a time. If it's still too thick, go ahead and add a little bit more water at a time, like a teaspoon at a time, until it's the right consistency for piping. Okay, so when you lift it up, it should melt in on itself within a couple of seconds. So now we're going to transfer our royal icing to a piping bag and use it to decorate the cookies. So I'm going to use a disposable piping bag and just put it down in a cup and pour my royal icing in. You could color this royal icing using food coloring if you want to. I'm just gonna do white. Okay, I've got my scissors. So now we're just going to lift the bag of icing out and twist it to seal it in. Okay, and then you get to pipe whatever cute little design you want on your gingerbread man. You can just use icing. You can decorate with some gumdrops, which are really fun and traditional. You could use colored mini M&Ms for little buttons or features, whatever you want to do. So just snip off the end and decorate. I'm going to do little cloves. I think I'll give them some gumdrop buttons and some eyes. And there we go. That is my little gingerbread man. So these are my gingerbread man cookies. They are fun to eat, fun to make. They're obviously not perfect, but they're so great for Christmas and everybody's going to love them. Kids will have so much fun making them and decorating them, and they taste like the holidays. Okay, I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna bite off his head. Sorry, Gingy. They're so soft and chewy. The gingerbread flavor is just right. All the spices are right there. The little bit of icing is sweet, perfect. These are the best gingerbread men cookies, and they're so good. So if you like these gingerbread cookies, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments below what your favorite Christmas cookie is.